Last year I made a wasteland battlemat and a desert battlemat. They're super easy and cheap to make, so since I ended up hosting a water terrain crafting challenge, I thought I'd make an ocean battlemat. This would let me play naval games like On the Seven Seas, Manowar and Red Fleet, but it can also be combined with other terrain to make quaysides for Mordheim, Easy 6 and Dungeons & Dragons. As with the other mats, I started off by laying out a sheet of plastic and stretching out some canvas over it. The plastic is so you don't stain the surface you're working on, so make sure it covers it properly. Next, I marked out the area for the mat. I used one of my older mats for size, but you can make yours any size you like. Once the area was marked out, I busted out the acrylic caulk and the paint. In the other mats I used baking powder to give the caulk a rough texture, but here it was just caulk, paint and a little water. You obviously don't want your water to be gritty. It does mean that you need more caulk though. With the baking powder I could cover 3 mats with 2 tubes, but this one took almost an entire tube on its own. I mixed black paint in first, then added a lot of blue and just a little green. You can skip the black paint if you want a brighter colored mat, but my plan was to lighten it up later with overbrushing, to give it more depth. Whatever you do, keep mixing till there are no streaks. Then it's time to get messy. Put on a pair of gloves and start globbing the caulk all over the canvas. Then just spread it around with your hands. Make sure you overshoot the border so you don't leave any uncovered spots or have the mat really thick in the center and then really thin on the sides. Just have fun with this. Once you've gotten a full coverage, it's time to make some waves. I played a Roomba on the canvas with my fingers, moving left to right and top to bottom. This will leave fairly large stylized waves, but if you want something more subtle, you could equally well use a popsicle stick or even a paint roller. If you made your mix a bit too runny, your waves might start to level out. Don't worry, if this happens, give it some time so it dries a little and then try again. When you're happy with your waves, leave the mat to dry overnight. You'll know when it's ready because the paint will be completely matte, but don't worry, we'll shine it up again in a second. The next step is overbrushing. I used the same green I mixed in earlier, loading up the brush and wiping it off lightly, then beating the devil out of it. You can use a lighter shade of blue if you prefer, I'm not the boss of you. Work in thin layers and again make sure you overshoot the borders so you don't get any off-color spots. The only thing off color here is my language. After the overbrushing, the mat will be a more interesting color, but it's still, well, matte. What we're going to do next is give it a coating of transparent silicone to make it shiny. Now this was a fair bit of serendipity because although I had already bought the silicone, I hadn't applied it yet. The day I was going to do that, Jeremy from Blackmagic Craft also released a video about making an ocean mat in a very similar way, and that he had had an issue with his silicone. I took note and had a look around and found a fish keeping channel that explained how to make silicone paint out of silicone caulk. And that, folks, is why being lazy is awesome. I'll leave links to both videos in the description, but long story short, you can dilute silicone acetate with mineral spirits to a consistency that you can easily spread out on a brush. I did this for a bit, but then I got bored and started to use a sponge instead. There's nothing complicated here, just spread it evenly and leave it to sit. Once it cured, I still had plenty of silicone left over, so I gave it another layer. I also slapped on some lines and shaped them to make larger waves. Now, if you're making a gaming mat, you don't want to go overboard with these because they will make it harder to put down miniatures and terrain, but 2 or 3 look good. When that cures, all you need to do is cut the excess off. And that's it really, you can now play on your ocean battlemat and roll it up out of the way when you're not using it. Since a few people asked, both my other battlemats are still doing fine after a year. The ash waste mat has some crud on it because I use it more often, but that will clean off just fine. I'm expecting the ocean mat to be at least as durable, and hopefully with the silicone coating it will attract less dirt. If you want to join us for the Water Terrain Challenge, you can find the link to the Discord in the description. The entries will be streamed live on the 21st of May, so you should have time if you want to make something new. Of course, if you just want to show off a piece of water terrain or a diorama you made, and you're really proud of, you're more than welcome to throw it in there too. In the meantime, I have a few more ideas for water features, so I'm off to make those. Bye!